Hey guys, it's me again, Wonder. In today's tutorial, we'll see how to install Ubuntu server on our virtual machine that we have created in the previous tutorial. The instructions are the same if you want to install your Ubuntu server on a physical machine, so it doesn't matter if you are using a physical machine or a virtual machine. To do that, we need an installation media, a CD or a flash drive. In our case, our virtual machine software, virtual environment software that we are using is going to assume that our ISO file, our Ubuntu server image file is an installation media. So to attach our installation media, uh, let's go to setting, then storage. As you can see here, we have a virtual optical drive or uh, optical drive for CDs and DVDs. Uh, Here, or click on the CD icon, then it uh, lets you choose the location of the server that you downloaded from the download page of Ubuntu server. Okay. Uh, Here I forgot to mention something. Uh, let's open it first and I'll show you that. Earlier, I have tried to select Ubuntu server uh, version Ubuntu version 64, and I couldn't find the 64 version here. All of the uh, operating system versions here are 32. The reason for that is I'm using 32-bit CPU or processor, so I cannot install 64-bit operating system on my computer or on my virtual machine. That's why there is no 64-bit version selection here. Uh, so I had to go to the Ubuntu server download page and download 32-bit of Ubuntu server. Uh, so I downloaded the 32-bit of Ubuntu installation here. You can see both of the 64 and 32-bit of the operating systems. If you are using CPU 64-bit CPU, it doesn't matter uh, if you use 64-bit or 32-bit. The 64-bit CPU is backward compatible, so it is you can continue with your 64-bit operating system. Now we have attached our storage device to our virtual machine. Let's start installation by clicking Start button. Now, as you can see, the first setting that you have to set is language. Let's leave it in English. Then the next one is the type of installation. Let's install Ubuntu server. This is also a language setting. Let's leave it in English. Country, territory, area. Uh, for this tutorial, let's leave it United States. Here, keyboard detection layout, keyboard layout detection. Let's leave it no. Then country region, for the keyboard layout. Let's use English US. The virtual machine is installing Ubuntu. The installation takes a lot of time, so I have to pause the recording in some part of the installation. Let's leave the host name as it is. We'll see about host names in later tutorials. Let's give user as a full name. Alright. Uh, Please be careful here. If you are using the virtual machine for a serious purpose, uh, try to use a strong password, alphanumeric password. But for our installation, we will use root as a password. This password is easily guessable, but for our tutorial, we'll leave it as root. Yeah, it is warning us that we are using a weak password. Yes, we want to continue with our weak password. Here it asks whether if we want to encrypt our directories. We don't want to encrypt our directories. No. The installation will continue. Uh, the the installation detected our time zone. Yeah, it is the right time zone. Here, this is a partition option. Let's leave it at guided use entire disk set up LVM and select partition. We have only one partition, so let's take it. Now we have to write all the configurations that we have set up. So yes, uh, the amount of disk space that we want for our virtual hard disk, let's leave it at the default. Now this is an option for writing all the settings and changes to our hard disk. Yes, we want to save our changes to a hard disk. We don't use HTTP proxy, so let's leave it blank. This is an automatic update option. Uh, there are three options: no automatic updates, install security updates automatically, manage with landscape. Security updates are really critical for a server. If you are using your Ubuntu server as a mail server or a web server, it is really, really important that you update your security updates uh, quickly. Uh, so it's always important to set it to automatically update when there is a security update. So let's select the second one and continue. Here we select additional softwares that we want to install with our operating system. You can use a space, but the space from the keyboard to select the software that you want to install uh, with the operating system. For now, we only need the OpenSSH. So uh, let's continue. Now it is asking if we want to install the grab bootloader to master boot record. If we want to our virtual machine to start by itself, we have to select yes. It is finalizing the installation, the server installation. For those of who uh, who are new to Linux operating system, the installation steps may seem a little bit difficult, but in time and practice, it is going to be the easiest thing to do. So please don't be discouraged. Our installation is complete. The important thing to note in Linux is that uh, you learn by trial and error. Googling is also the most important part of learning Linux. There are many Linux communities all over the world. When you face some problem or an error, most probably that error is solved by another person. So Googling is the most important part of learning Linux. Now we have finished installing the Ubuntu server on our virtual machine. Now it is going to restart the operating system. So now it is restarting. This is Ubuntu server version 16. Let's use our username and password. If you remember, I used user as a username and root as a password. This is it. This is our Ubuntu server. So we have seen how to install Ubuntu server on a virtual machine. As I said before, this instruction is also applies for a physical server or a computer. So you can use these steps to install Ubuntu server on your machine. Again, thanks for watching.